Deep inside, one of the driest, most brutal deserts on Earth, hundreds of miles from any ocean, lies an impossible sight. Buried directly inside the shifting orange sands are the perfectly intact skeletons of massive, prehistoric ocean whales. But as modern scientists dug deeper into these baking dunes, they uncovered an anatomical anomaly that terrified them. These ancient sea monsters did not just swim through the water, they actually possessed fully formed legs. This hostile environment is known to modern geography as a completely landlocked basin, isolated by towering sandstone structures that have been carved over millennia by relentless desert winds. For generations, the area remained shrouded in dark folklore, as local nomadic tribes firmly believed the valley belonged to ancient stone spirits. They warned travelers that stepping into these heavy winds would invoke a terrible curse, ensuring that no one would ever return alive from the scorching expanse. Because of these terrifying legends, the vast basin remained entirely unexplored by the outside world, preserving its secrets beneath the hot sand. It was a place where time seemed to stand completely still, locked away from human civilization in the heart of a barren wilderness. The silence of the valley was shattered in the early years of the 20th century when a courageous team of geologists finally breached the canyon walls. Expecting to find nothing but basic rock samples, the researchers climbed over a steep ridge and stopped dead in their tracks from sheer disbelief. Sprawled across the valley floor were hundreds of massive, white fossilized bones that glistened brilliantly under the oppressive afternoon sun. The sheer scale of the graveyard was overwhelming, as complete skeletal frames stretched out across the landscape as far as the eye could see. It looked less like a standard archaeological dig site and more like the immediate aftermath of a sudden prehistoric catastrophe. The explorers cautiously stepped down into the basin, realizing they were walking among the remnants of an entirely forgotten epoch that left far more questions than answers. Initial confusion quickly transformed into profound scientific bewilderment as the geologists began analyzing the specific context of the find. Whales are highly specialized marine mammals, yet these specimens were perfectly preserved in a geographic zone defined by absolute aridity and endless heat. To solve this impossible riddle, the geologists began carefully mapping the various rock layers that formed the towering walls of the canyon. What they discovered shook the foundational understanding of our planet's history, as the stone was composed entirely of marine sediment. Millions of microscopic seashells, fossilized mangrove roots, and ancient coral reefs were embedded directly into the dry desert cliffs. This meant that this current wasteland of death was once the thriving, vibrant floor of an ancient primordial ocean that existed millions of years in the past. While the discovery of an ancient ocean answered how these creatures ended up in the modern desert, it quickly birthed a far more unsettling biological mystery. As the geologists carefully cleared away layers of packed sediment from the pristine skeletons, they noticed something completely impossible about the skeletal structures. Modern whales possess tiny internal hip bones that are entirely disconnected from their spine, evolutionary remnants of their land-dwelling ancestors. But these specific fossilized remains featured fully formed external hind limbs, complete with functional knee joints and distinct toes. These were not the ocean-dwelling leviathans the geologists expected to find, but rather a transitional species caught directly in the middle of an evolutionary leap. the team realized they were staring at the literal missing link, a predatory whale that could still walk on land. This creature was not a peaceful herbivore grazing on the shoreline. A closer look at the fossilized skull revealed the terrifying mechanics of a highly aggressive apex ocean predator. Its jaw was lined with massive, deeply rooted teeth designed for tearing through thick flesh and crushing heavy bone. This monstrous anatomy proved it hunted the largest prey in the prehistoric ecosystem. The presence of functional hind limbs meant this nightmare could seamlessly transition between deep water hunting and coastal ambushes. It effectively dominated two completely different worlds at the exact same time. For any creature walking the ancient shoreline, there was absolutely nowhere to hide from this evolutionary marvel. The Valley of Whales was once a valley of absolute terror. This incredible skeleton represents the missing evolutionary link that scientists spent generations searching for. It stands as definitive physical proof of the transition from land mammals to ocean giants. By comparing these ancient joints to modern species, biologists can finally trace the exact path whales took. The structural modifications perfectly document the physical mechanics of adaptation over millions of years. The discovery fundamentally shatters long-held assumptions about how quickly marine mammals adapted to deep water. Evolution didn't move at a slow crawl. It exploded in response to changing environments. Every bone unearthed in this desert canyon forces textbook publishers to rewrite the history of life on Earth. A prehistoric graveyard has become the cradle of modern evolutionary science. Today, this wind-swept desert valley is protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving a priceless vault of evolutionary history. It stands as a silent monument to the grand, sweeping narrative of life on our planet. Thousands of visitors and scientists journey to this remote landscape every year to marvel at the exposed bones. They walk along ancient dried seabeds where prehistoric monsters once swam millions of years ago. The shifting sands of Wadi Al-Hitan will undoubtedly continue to uncover even more secrets hidden deep beneath the rock. The story of whale evolution is still being written with every passing desert storm. As the sun sets over the canyon, we are reminded that our modern world is built entirely on the foundations of a forgotten deep ocean. The past is never truly gone. It is simply waiting to be found inside our world.